Agent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. My name is James Wong. I'm going to be moderating a fantastic panel of social influencers, marketers, promoters, and really good friends that built their business just really on, we always say, hard work, but actually when they started adding their secret sauce on how to expand and scale their business, it was really exciting watching many of you kind of grow and build and scale and these opportunities. And sometimes I only watch the front end of your social media, but I'd always love to hear kind of what happens on the back end, because it is exciting once you get that deal, get that client to say yes, and then where does it leave off? So we'll first start with an introduction. Pam Goodwin, we've been talking for a while, and it's great that you're finally here with at EXP, and kind of tell us your journey and your story.
Well, thanks, Jim, so much for having me. I know it seems like a long time, but I actually have a degree in interior design. So I went from interior design to investor, and wish I would have learned, when they ask you what lessons you wanted to learn earlier, I wish, investing in commercial real estate earlier. But, I started off as an interior designer only for 1 year working on office buildings, and then transitioned into large shopping center development. And then went on the tenant side to Brinker International, developing more than 50 Chili's from the ground up. That gave me, I thought I wanted to own a restaurant, and found out very quickly I wanted to own the real estate instead, and started my own company, Goodwin Commercial, 18 years ago. And we specialize here in Dallas or in the Texas market, developing single tenant net lease properties with national retailers such as Walgreens, McDonald's. We buy the property and then lease it back to them, and then we sell investment properties.
Thank you, Pam. And I know that's the abridged short version, right? So thank you for being here with us and talking about investors. I'd love Henry Eisenstein. Henry, if you don't mind sharing yours, because I know not only have you translated from just kind of broker, but investing, and kind of give us a background on you.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, James. Appreciate it a lot. So a lot of my career started off in the service-based area. I was very fortunate early on in my life to have some fantastic mentors, and fell into the residential side of things actually first, as a broker. And mainly at the very beginning of my career, I actually focused on foreclosures. So I was 20 years old, and my very first job in the business was evicting people from their homes, which obviously wasn't a great fit. So I slowly moved into more on the residential side, brokering. But what ended up happening, I built a lot of relationships with investors from the foreclosure side, and a large portion of my business ever since then was on the investment side. And started off with flipping, and helping people find finding good flip properties and rental properties. And then slowly, as they graduate into larger and larger product, I started selling and buying larger and larger product. I've been a part of, $500 million worth of real estate, but a lot of that is also on the investment side. I've raised almost $20 million for investment deals. That's what we mainly focus on these days. And, super happy to be here.
Thank you, Henry. We're really happy you're here to share your experience and knowledge. Also, we can't do it without the money and the finance part. So, Scott, great to actually have you virtual. It was great speaking on the stage with you when we were in Arizona. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background too.
Yes, thank you so much, Jim. I, much like Henry, I got my start on the residential side 21 years ago, stayed in the business out until after the crash. I had slowly converted into doing more commercial. I had a net branch when that was a thing, when you could have a virtual mortgage bank branch. You could run from home. This is a pioneer in working from home in this industry. Then I came back in 2018 as a commercial mortgage broker, and I did that until halfway through COVID, when pipeline dried up and I needed something a little more stable. So this little insurance company lender had a role open on the origination side, and I jumped into the deep end, not really only knowing what I didn't like about dealing with lenders and making that the whole approach to my business, and restarting on LinkedIn from essentially deleting a profile with 6,000 connections that I was pretty terrible at running, to starting from scratch and building up my business now largely through LinkedIn over the last 3 years.
Thank you, Scott. Well, kind of just jumping right in, because we were talking about technology. Many of us, we were on the early cusp of when technology started coming into our business, and it always goes into the residential first, as probably Henry, you and Scott know. When you were there, residential had more of the technology adoption, social media, and commercial. We kind of looked at, we don't do that. Like, we don't put our faces on cards. We don't do these certain things. But more and more now, right, there's kind of this blending of what residential, commercial, finance, it's all kind of merging and coming together. So Pam, I'll start with you on being around for a while. When did you say, I got to start getting on social media, doing social media, and wow, I actually, know that also most of us are in commercial real estate. We do LinkedIn, but TikTok, can you tell a little about that?
Well, yeah, I guess that, like we had mentioned a little bit before, just, starting your own company and trying to do marketing and get your name out there. It was pretty costly in those olden days versus now on all the social media platforms. I mean, Facebook is #1, and then YouTube, and then Instagram as far as how many views, but it's in the billions, and then how many people watch it every day. So to have that opportunity for, free marketing of your company, I feel like I found out fairly early, and then just over the, like you said, 15 years have been building up. And now LinkedIn, I have more than, 31,000 plus connections, but it's been a huge impact on my business. And I have learned so much of, what works and what doesn't work. And you just have to really try out different things. I mean, it's nice on LinkedIn. You can find, it does the analytics for you. And I was just looking up, in the last 365 days, you can find out what your top post was and how many impressions it received. And it turns out I had seen on the news, Walmart was doing drone deliveries not too far from, my house. And so I drove over there to check it out, and I posted the drone delivery. And so far in the last, year so far to date, that has the most impressions. So you just have to try out all the different platforms. I'm on all of them, mainly though LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook is primarily for the business.
And Scott, kind of going to you, bringing LinkedIn where you started, but man, that hurts where you had to scrap 6,000, because we don't know how to build it up unless you get something good that goes viral and really quick. Scott, tell us how you built it on LinkedIn, scaled it, and are you on any other platforms?
Sure, absolutely. So what I learned from my mistakes on the first one was my original LinkedIn profile from when I was a broker. I just added people. I was a machine. I just added 100 people every day until LinkedIn told me that to stop. But then I didn't do anything with it. I didn't post anything. I didn't comment. I didn't engage. I think I would send the dreaded first message sales pitch with the connection invites. And, I didn't get a lot of traction with it. I had a number of commercial bankers who'd send me deals, but maybe it was 1% of the ones I connected to. So it wasn't very effective. So what I changed differently was when I started adding people on the capital markets and broker side was one of my tricks was I would look at someone, maybe a lender's closing, funded announcement, and see all the people who had given it a thumbs up or a like or comment, and add those people, start adding active people. Because I don't know what the percentage of, inactive people are, but it's high. And then there's a lot of lurkers, but then there's a community of people who comment, who like, and adding those people has been, a big amount of, gotten me a lot of traction. And I go to events here, and it's oftentimes a commercial banker, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, LinkedIn. They make us do it, but I don't really see any value in it. Do you get anything out of it?" And I explain that, I've really built my business off of it. Probably 60% of my business now comes from LinkedIn. last March, I had broken 150,000 views of my post last year, and I thought that was astounding. Well, I just broke 1 million last month in the last 365 days, which is pretty cool. And you know, broke 10,000 followers. I think I'm close to 11,000 now. But it's really about, I tell people it's about giving. You get as much as you give on LinkedIn. The more engaged you are, the more you try and, you know, like Strip Mall Guy and Bob Knackle and any of the people who are on these lists, Mike Auerbach doing 1031 education, Skylar Remains for commercial insurance. She's built a massive following from talking about something as uninteresting as commercial insurance. And but you start to feel connected to these people. So when I went to MBA, I was able to book 39 meetings over 2 days by just putting my Calendly link on LinkedIn. And I didn't have to do any more work than that to fill my days with meetings. So it's been an incredible tool. And I think it is too. It's sort of like, you know, in college, you'd see the same people. You may never talk to them, and 20 years later, you get a reunion and you recognize them, and it's like you were friends, even though you weren't. And so it's a little bit like LinkedIn. Like you see these people, see the same people every day, and then when you finally talk to them, it's like you've already built up a virtual rapport with them, and in a crowded market with a lot of people doing the same thing. It's a very inexpensive way to stand apart and to build up a profile to where you are getting, like Pam, getting nationwide recognition, you know, building a huge following like Henry. I did try X for about a week, but I was just getting sucked into a rabbit hole of looking at the wrong posts, getting off topic for CRE. So I'm gonna try again and limit my focus to just commercial real estate and see how that goes.
Thank you, Scott. And Henry, I always watch you like on TikTok, but I'm sure you're not only on TikTok. I mean, what else are you doing kind of with what platform, what's working really well for you?
Yeah, so funny enough, I mean, I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk almost 10 years ago when I first got in the business, and everything he kept talking about was document, not create, which is sort of documenting your journey. You know, I feel like a lot of us are constantly overthinking of like what to post. Is this going to be good? Is this going to be getting, you know, a lot of views? Is this good enough to put online? You know, I want you guys to know I have a full-time marketing team now that I built from scratch, a lot of VAs. You know, I have 9 full-time people that work on my social media. I pay over $10,000 a month for it. I only say that because I didn't start that way, but now we put out 100 pieces of content a week. You know, and I'm here in Italy, and my team is handling everything, and I'm posting across every single platform right now. And by the way, it started as just Instagram, right? I was just Instagram, and it was just me. I would just document my day, and I would just talk about everything that's going on. And well, like, you know, I built a, you know, pretty, you know, maybe 1,000 people on Instagram. And then I started, you know, reading up on, you know, how YouTube was bought a number of years ago, and YouTube was the new place to be putting out content. And I still look at my first YouTube video, and it was kind of eerie. I don't even watch my own stuff now. I want you to understand, like, I don't even rewatch it. I record it once and I send it to my team. I never look at it again because I'm in a game for 20 years, right? Like, this is like, there's not going to be one post that changes your business. Right, there might be one post that blows up and gets to millions and millions of views. You know, we've had a couple, but at the same time, like, it's also the weirdest videos. Like, I look at the one video that has, you know, maybe 7 or 8 million impressions across all of our platforms, and it's the weirdest cold calling video ever. And there's nothing special about it. It just happened to hit the algorithm at the right time, the right place, and picked up some sort of traction. So I think it's more about consistency more than anything. And what we do now is, you know, we are just more consistent than anybody else is our mission on the content side, and just also trying to do our best job to make the quality the best we possibly can, both in the quality of the video camera, the audio, the lighting, all of it, and including like what I'm actually speaking about. And we focus on long form first, and then we specifically then chop it up into short form pieces that we can then blast across multiple platforms. So it started off with like, you choose one platform that you can do a decent job at, that maybe you have a decent understanding of that platform, do well on that one platform, then you can splice up that little bit longer form content and put it out on other platforms. And honestly, at the very beginning, you can literally take the same piece of content and put it on everywhere, and just know that it's just about, the consistency factor of doing it, one post a day, every day for 20 years. I mean, like, this is not something you just do for a short period of time and it all of a sudden blows up. But what happened, all of a sudden, you look back and you have 20,000 followers after doing it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? And a majority of those followers are from maybe 1 or 2 or 3 videos, but it's not those 1 or 2, 3 videos. It's the fact that you've just been so consistent over time. So.
Henry, thank you. And thank you for doing the call. I mean, while traveling on summer break and
Course.
vacation. So no, this is exciting where I love this. Don't overthink it. Just put it out there. Obviously don't be offensive, but say just sharing your authentic life. I do like being consistent. And Scott, even where you said you had to start over and everything else, what tips would you give everyone? And I do kind of tell everyone here, let's get you started. If you're not on LinkedIn and TikTok or Insta or any of them, connect with Pam, Henry, Scott, because right now, if you engage, right, it will get you higher up because they're already very active. So this is kind of a secret, just text them, email them, through LinkedIn and just say, this is where you saw them. And you build some kind of friendship, even though it's virtual, to get that momentum. So if you didn't think about doing it, please think about it now. Like everyone's been doing it. It's consistently just starting, building. It's never ending. It's never one post. So just keep building it and building this community together. So next, I would just want to go. So Scott, on yours, let's say you don't have a budget yet. Like Henry, what he said, he has a whole team. What would you suggest somebody do, let's say in real estate or commercial real estate, because we're always following what realty agents are doing. What advice would you get if you're just like, I'm just getting started?
I would say, well, piggyback off what Henry said about, no one post is going to sort of change your life or anything. And also with that is not overthinking it, of posting, because there's a lot of times where I'll write some posts that think, oh, this is going to be my biggest one ever, and it gets 10% of the views of my biggest one ever. And trying to figure out what the algorithm wants is difficult at best, and it's more than swinging harder. It's just like swinging, consistently. And if you can be on there day to day, and I found what's been the most effective in general are just sort of posts, with a peek behind the curtain. Well, here's what I'm seeing here's what I'm hearing from all the brokers I talk to on a daily basis. Here's what our current challenges are as a lender. So even if and a lot of times too, I use mine to try and educate people. And most people on my LinkedIn are brokers. So when I have something that happens that could be educational, one of the things that as a broker, when I was dealing with lenders is, I never had a lender explain anything to me, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And you do things a certain way and you think it's right. And if maybe those weren't ideal, no one ever shared that with me. So if you're a commercial real estate broker, maybe that's just simply daily posts. If your target market are owners, potential sellers, is just explaining a peek behind the curtain at what you do, why you do things that you do, why that, doing an off-market transaction is rarely better than listing your property, and things like that. Anything that provides insight into all of the knowledge you take for granted that your deal flow sources don't have or aren't privy to. I think that's very, very helpful. And then also seeing, finding the top people in your vertical and engaging with them, engaging on their posts, especially I think because commercial real estate is very market driven. Someone in Virginia commenting on a Miami broker's post, they're they're not trying to horn their way in versus if you're competing on a local competitor's post, if you're commenting on those, I'd say that maybe that's not, it might not be the most respectful thing if you're not good friends with them already. But cross market promotion is an engagement I see a lot on the sales investment broker side, and that seems to do a lot of bring a lot of good for those people doing that. Yeah, I would say just being consistent on a daily basis, not overthinking it. Just take that 5 or 10 minutes to write something, somewhat thoughtful, and not agonize over getting it perfect. Is a great way to start.
Thank you, Scott. And kind of going on that with Pam, when you talked about the, what you saw from piggybacking on, let's say, an article, going to the event, making it yours, authentic, videoing or taking pictures at the site. I mean, on yours, what did you see from building your own content, piggybacking, or just reposting other people's articles?
I would say all that, and what Scott mentioned, it's interesting. I've wanted to post something and I took it down, took it down, overthinking it, and then that one gets the most views. And like he said, the one that you think's going to get a lot of likes, it goes silent. So you just have to try out different things. And like you said, commenting and engaging and resharing, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, really not just doing a like, but making a comment to their post, or, Jesse Itzler, always kind of reposting. He has a lot of really good information. But, just talking about, you just have to go out there and see what works best for you. I organically do it all myself. I've hired companies in the past, but I found out that, I like posting and sharing and doing it. And it's, besides getting a lot of business leads, it's given me opportunity to, be a brand ambassador. I signed up to go to Dollywood. They have a brand ambassador at the bottom of their website, and putting it as an influence, just saying that if you post pictures, I ended up getting 2 free tickets to get into Dollywood. So that saved, $250. And a lot of companies will do that. I'm traveling overseas now, and it's really hard to get into this one place. And I saw on their website, if you're an influencer, which I would rather call it an inspire, but they also have it where if you just post pictures going to their establishment, they will give you free entry. So that I just got approved for that. But I would just highly recommend just having your camera out there. The ones to me that always get the most post are when if you have an opportunity to post a picture with a celebrity. I had the great opportunity to meet Dolly Parton and sing the song Jolene with her. And that one, that's the most post I've ever received. I think I'm up to 42,000 on my TikTok on that. But I just recommend to everyone, you just, like all of us have said, just you don't have to spend a lot of time, but, quality is better than quantity. So just make sure you're providing that value and you're inspiring people, because you never know. I had one lady, I just posted a quote on something and she DM'd me and she's like, oh my gosh, Pam, that really hit home with me today. She was on a job search and that quote. And then I told her what next to do. And I was so happy she ended up getting the job. So you just never know who you're, out there inspiring. But it's just such a great platform, and recommend trying different things, posting, definitely commenting on people's posts, sharing their post, and, sending an invite to all of us on LinkedIn and connecting with us.
Thank you, Pam. And for you, Henry, I love this, getting free stuff. I've gotten tickets and other stuff too. So Henry, when you first started, let's talk about what you did. But now where you're at, how much free stuff are you getting? Or how much endorsements are people giving you or reaching out to you on now?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity that comes with it, of course. And a big piece of what I wanted to mention while Pam and Scott were talking was understanding your audience is what's absolutely most important and who you want to target. Like if you look at my content, because I look to recruit and build a large sales team for my sales team specifically, not just the organization at EXP, but specifically brokers to work for me directly in the business. You see a lot of my content directed towards commercial real estate agents, right? That's my niche, and targeting brokers just like yourself, right? However, then I teach those brokers to then target individual investors, talking specifically on social media to talk to investors, to speak to how to, their content looks very, very different than mine, right? Because when you're trying to target a realtor, because if you think about what you're posting on social media, if you're just talking about like, hey, I just sold this or I just listed that, and if you look at your following, you're probably going to have a lot of real estate agents that follow you, and real estate agents are typically not going to then give you a bunch of business. But if you want to target people who are going to give you a bunch of business, because from social media, I mean, I've had a lot of like the most valuable thing that I get today more than anything else is I have now hundreds of real estate agents that send me deals all day long because they know I'm an investor and I look to buy great deals across the country, right? And I've built up a brand around that, right? So that to me, of course, you have some people who reach out and want you to shout out their companies, but to me, I'm like, I just want to become a deal sourcing machine where I have the opportunities that most people don't get, right? So just be very mindful that your content, it will attract a certain individual depending on how you speak and what you're putting out there, right? So if you're specifically looking to generate more leads, then you're going to have to speak to that type of avatar specifically and understand what they're specifically looking for information wise. Are they understanding? Like if you're trying to target more property owners who are looking to retire and then have that money, maybe just not spend a lot of money in taxes, right? Then you should be putting out tax information and interviewing tax accountants of how to pass down money from generation to generation, how to sell my property and not pay any taxes, right? And speak to that type of individual, because then you'll have those individuals reaching out to you. But if you're just posting online, hey, this is how this is how to make calls. Like I post about making cold calls. I'm not having sellers reach out to me, but I'm having their brokers reach out to me saying, hey, I have a seller who's looking to sell. This is the details. Would you be open to buying it? Right. But that's what I created. That's what I did. I did that by design. And you can do, you can target and you can attract any type of avatar by your design.
Thank you. And this is funny where now we're almost having a virtual tribe, right? With CREI, I think we're all on it and other groups, but it's almost like in this virtual world, everyone's kind of, I will always say with Faraz, right? A lot of you guys know Faraz and we're like having bromance, right? Because when we see each other, we post, we take pictures all the time. What are you seeing with, like, say, different virtual tribes or groups like CREI, the summit? I think many of us will be there. But what other groups like the CCIM, SIOR, other physical groups that now these virtual groups are starting to pop up? But I kind of saw the power of this because it's the marketing arm. You start getting to know these groups and tribes and you endorse them. They start endorsing you, right? So what are you seeing these groups that you could be a part of, and you start kind of pushing each other's content because everyone has such a large following? I'll start with you.
I would just go on LinkedIn. It's surprising, how many different groups that they have that you may have interest in. So since we specialize in triple net investments, I belong to those groups. So if I have a listing, I'm selling a McDonald's, I'll be able to post that listing on there, and then it goes to all their buyers or buyers. And it's just a great way to engage. But like you said, you have to be engaged with them. You just can't be reviewing other people's content. If you want to, like Grant Cardone says, best known beats best. And so you want to just, get out there in the groups and start building these relationships. And then when you do go to their conferences, like the upcoming one that we're all going to in September, then you feel like, you already know them, that, a lot of information about them ahead of time. It's sure a lot easier these days than, 20 years ago, where you had to only make a phone call and meet every time in person. So take advantage of meeting different people in different groups. And even if I'm in Triple Net Investments, I also look at the franchisee to see which franchisees are growing, that I can bring those new concepts to our market. So look at, different ones besides, like we're in just commercial real estate, take a look. There's so many opportunities out there.
So on any kind of groups with you, or do you put it out, or are you part of specific groups that you market, push to, just different organizations out there virtually now?
Was that for me? Sorry, you got cut off a little.
Yeah, for you,
Okay.
Scott, just the different
Yes.
groups that you may be a part of.
So it's funny you mentioned Faraz. I literally watched him be a fan of Bob Knakal from afar, go meet him in person in LinkedIn, meet up with him again at another event, actually an event for a group that I was part of, the Phoenix chapter that we ended up shutting down. But to going forward now, he is working with Bob Knakal and Bob Knakal's company all through just LinkedIn engagements. That's pretty amazing. And CREI is a bit of a sore subject. I just missed it this year. They told me next year, so I'll see it the next one, I guess. But I would say depending on your market, Phoenix was oversaturated because of the growth with groups that are involved in real estate development, networking, construction industries, things like that. So there was a guy here in town, Alexi, who he'll review LP documents and give an unbiased kind of third-party opinion on whether you're looking at making an investment, or if you've got an investment you're concerned about what the GP is doing. And so he's built a pretty varied network on LinkedIn, and he started putting on events. Simply, he'd call a restaurant and say, hey, during the middle of the day, 2:00, I want to bring in 50 to 100 commercial real estate people. Do you have a separate room or a back patio where we can all hang out? And it's free. You show up, you buy your own food, buy your own drinks, and something as simple as that. He's gotten 75 to 80 people at each event that he kind of spontaneously promotes a week before. So even doing something as simple in your local market is reaching out to the people you know, and each trying to bring 5 people to a semi-spontaneous gathering where you never know who you can meet. There could be 60 people there, and you meet your next client, you meet a great referral partner that without there's no need to join. But there's also a lot of local groups that you can join and go to their paid events. My only wish is I wish there was a consolidated source to find all those events, because it's oftentimes you find out about them after the fact. But yeah, getting out there and meeting people in person is still a really good thing.
Hey, Scott, so the good thing is we'll name the names. So with Chris and those guys at CCC, we're going to start growing the West Coast. So now I have a little more free time. With Dana in Nevada, we're going to start doing our own, because it is, and they did generate a lot of business, speaking, getting involved. And that's how, Scott, you and I met, with the Calm Loans event with Mitch, right? We got that, and we started building a great relationship. And I do think this virtual way of working, connecting, you do feel, we've said it before, you're part of their lives. So when you do go to those events, you're almost instant friends, right? You know their resume. If you're friends with them, usually on Facebook or others, right? You start getting to know a little more of their personal, because we know LinkedIn is a little more business, starting to blur the lines a little, but Facebook and others, right? You start getting to see their family, their graduations. So when you do see people, you do feel, wow, I know you already, and you break the ice. So you almost get right into it. So I find that exciting. So Henry, with you on this, the journey to now you have a whole team. I mean, what are you thinking, and what are you going to do? Because to me, you've kind of gotten to a far pinnacle, but it's almost running towards the horizon. I mean, does it end? Does it keep going? What happens after Henry, no longer wants to do this? And I know commercial agents and investors, we die with our boots on, right? We don't ever stop.
Yeah, I've come to the mindset that I don't do anything that I don't want to spend 20 to 30 or 40 years doing anymore. Because I feel like, in order to become extraordinary at just about anything, it's a multi-decade journey. And I look at social media and I look at business the same exact way, where, if I can't see myself doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, I don't even start doing it. It's a big thing that has allowed me to say no to a ton of opportunities that have come my way. Just to stay solely focused on exactly what my dreams are, what my goals are. We're about to launch a hedge fund so that we can to continue to acquire more and more property. It's like that decision was only made because, one thing that I take into consideration is the longevity of things. And I look at social media the same exact way. It's like I've been doing this, I've been I've been spending a lot of money, time, energy, and effort on social media for going on 4 years. And I feel like I'm still just getting started. And a lot of the community that I've created today, from online presence, like we've built a very, decent sized community of hundreds of brokers nationally. And I'm excited for that to grow over time, and I think a big misconception that people have is that it takes having tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, if not millions, views or followers or likes or whatever to make great money. And I think it's actually more dependent on the quality of the individual you're targeting and the quality of the individuals that you're creating content for. Because I think that if you can build a few thousand person following with the right audience, you can make a lot of money, especially if you're just genuinely also a good human being and a good broker. Or investor or whatever your profession is, right? I think that you can make a great living, great income, solely dependent on whatever your audience base is. I would not worry about how many likes and how many followers and subscribers or whatever. Just target the right type of clientele, put out great content, and have a very, very long-term mindset for what social media will do. Because I feel like in a 3 to 5 year period of time, you'll look back and you'll be grateful you started when you did, versus being constantly in that mindset of I need to get started on this thing, or I wish I started sooner. So.
Thank you, Henry. I'd love to open up to the audience because these are some experts. I've watched everyone kind of grow their business, build their business, scale their business. So is there any questions of maybe how you're doing it? What advice that anyone here would like to ask them? Come on, Keith or Dana. I will see you guys. If you want to bring something up, don't be shy.
I just
Dana?
want to say the EXP family has just been so welcoming and responsive and supportive on social media. I really enjoy that. It's like as soon as you join, as soon as you post something, we have friends here in the company who are sharing your posts and commenting and supporting. And I think that goes a really long way as we're adding agents in Nevada, and their comments are like, I see what you post. It looks great. It looks like an engaged company. So I think the more that we can do to, support that. And I'm also, I recently took over the state of Tennessee, so I'll be out there more. We're gonna really hold that Nash Vegas term. We're really gonna. I'm just looking forward to engaging people in multiple states and really making a big splash for the company. So I really appreciate all of your advice and your lessons that you're teaching us on how to be more active out there.
Thank you, Dana. Well, we're big supporters and we always like, support, share. And that's what I've always wanted, because watching everyone, that's the power. So I'm glad in our virtual company, right, we have that support, and I'm glad people are seeing it. Keith?
Jim, I'm going to guess that there's probably more realty people here than there are commercial, right? I mean, I don't know
believe it or
hardly any
not.
of these people. What's that?
I
Yeah.
would say 50-50, but people do
Okay,
want
so-
leaders. Yep.
Henry and Scott, I wasn't here when you introduced yourselves. I'm sorry. I came in 10, 15 minutes late. Being commercial and being in business for many years, I'm always focused on LinkedIn. All the other social medias are the things that are lumped into that crowd that's called social media. I don't deal with. And the reason I'm totally dedicated to LinkedIn, and you guys probably can back it up, I don't know, is because 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn over the 200 million plus are decision makers. And I think 40% or 60% own their own businesses. So that's why I'm all about LinkedIn compared to anything else. So that's my comment. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's where we are in commercial.
Well, let's demystify this, right? We all know that that's the business, but let's hear, maybe, Scott, Henry, Pat, and TikTok, right? I mean, we've seen how much, is it eyeballs? Is it, like you said, focused target market? So maybe Henry, you can kind of address, on the business aspect.
Yeah, look, I think you are 100% correct where LinkedIn is a great place to spend a majority of the time. I think that the one thing I would kind of pique your curiosity with and just have you kind of think on is why not just take the same type of content and multi-channel it, where everything we do, we have what I do specifically is I put YouTube first because it is the best for search engine optimization. And so when people look up specific things on Safari, Google, whatever, right? Google, YouTube is a big piece of this. And nowadays, a lot of people aren't using Google to search up specific things. They actually just look it up in YouTube, right? So, I'm trying to provide a value in that specific piece and then taking that specific content and then putting it out through multiple channels. So I think that if you just took the same approach with LinkedIn, where, you take LinkedIn as the main approach, and you take that specific content and you put it out through multiple channels, you actually might be surprised. Like X has an insane amount of engagement of very high level individuals on it, and it's been growing massively for video focus as well. So I think X can be a fantastic platform. YouTube can be a wonderful platform. Again, even TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. You'd be surprised about how many of these specific quote decision makers are on these platforms and spending actual decent time on it. I think that it pays to be everywhere versus in one place.
Scott and Pam, do you want to add anything to that?
I'll defer to Pam since I have a single channel right now with just LinkedIn.
I'm the same way, pretty much everywhere, but do focus on some. But I think a lot of people do forget about YouTube and how you can do some short videos on that. I did have the Pam Goodwin show interviewing people, and it really paid off well for my business. The other thing is, Facebook Live, we were doing a commercial real estate show on that. So I would advise to anyone, finding your specialty and just doing a show on that, and you would be amazed of how many people will reach out to you. You have to be prepared to make sure, when you do get those leads, that you can handle them all. But you just have to find the one, that works best for you. I think they all have a different platform that works well for your brand, but it's fun to see it. Like I said, I use the top 3 really, the Facebook, Instagram now, and LinkedIn a lot. But you just have to be using them. They're valuable resource to increase your business.
And I just also want to add in real quick. And I love that Pam brought up the show idea. So a big thing that that I've been working on with multiple agents is take your ideal clientele, whoever that is, whatever you specifically sell, like, Pam, you do triple net leases, and interview your show is you interviewing your desired clientele, right? And it actually works in a fantastic way because they all know each other, right? And I've seen a lot of success with that as well. So, Keith, if, you have a specific type of asset class you target, interviewing, some of the larger firms that own a lot of real estate so they can pass on some information to, so on and so forth. I think that would work out really well. And you can post that on LinkedIn or any other platform.
You know what? This just is a great discussion because using YouTube, people are telling me you got to have 100 different videos before you can maybe monetize or use it or reflect to it. Putting content in events, right? We were all probably on Clubhouse for a while. We were all jumping around from but having your own, podcast, doing it consistently every week. And Keith, I know you do this, using it, maybe editing it, building it to content, right? Whether it's videos and placing it around. How do you do this, from, let's just say your interviews, podcasts of what you're doing, like, let's say even what we're doing right now, how could you use this in multiple ways and pushing it out?
So I'll just jump in here. So every single thing that you do can be turned into content in several different fashions, right? I think that a big thing is realizing that every piece of content, if you take this as an example, right? For my content, if you send, I'll just give you an example. You send me this video of this being recorded, okay? I have several instances where I'm speaking. I also have several instances where other professionals who have amazing tips, tricks, right, for this type of stuff are also speaking on the specific topics that I would love to post about, right? So I can not only share every single instance in which I spoke, I can share every instance in which anybody spoke on this right now. I then can share nowadays you can do reaction videos. Hey, Henry said that you post me talking, and then you can react to it of like, hey, I agree, I disagree, and have your reaction to that. You then can take that and transcribe it into text, and you can use it as an email and as a newsletter. You can use it as like text messages where you can even be sending out certain things. You can be doing it on LinkedIn or X as just like a blurb of the exact words. Like, this is a quote that was said. Hey, this was said on, this is what was said. Let me post about it. And then I can agree or disagree based on, that conversation. So there's just, and taking this and then cutting up into short form content. This could be 30 different short form videos, right? This, so it's like this one piece of content that is being recorded in this very moment can be split up into basically almost 100 different pieces of content. You just need to be intentional about it, right? So, taking anything that you do, any specific content you're recording or any specific topic or anything that's going on in your world, right? If you go to an event, like, I obviously know, James, you go to, every single event known to man, which is awesome, right? And going there with a microphone, and you could just interview people in real time at the event saying, hey, what are you seeing in the real estate market, right? And just having maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different questions you ask every single person. Now, all of a sudden, every single one of those is now 5 different short form videos. And then it could be 5 different little blurbs that can be posted on several different platforms. So it's just thinking, a little bit differently versus like, hey, every video I've seen or that I think makes sense is me with a camera being held up in front of me, and I have to use that as the content only.
Scott or Pam, anything else to add?
I just wanted to add, it may seem kind of overwhelming to think, oh my gosh, do I have to post on all these platforms? And there are companies out there that you can use, for example, StreamYard, that you can post the video on that, and then it goes out to all of your social media platforms. So don't get too overwhelmed with it, and start, if you're just getting started, start off small, do that short video, post it of something, related to your audience, and then just see what happens.
Scott, anything else to add before we, Ruby?
I have a quick question. Do you guys typically outsource when it comes to creating content? Do you guys have a company or someone doing that for you or working alongside with you, or do you create it yourself?
I'm doing everything myself, which is just LinkedIn, but I know some people do use third parties or managers to do that, even for just LinkedIn itself.
Henry or Pam?
I do it all myself, and I have outsourced it in the past, and I've come back to organically posting everything myself.
And Henry,
But
you just run,
I should say I do use companies to help with the editing of videos and slicing them up. So I do outsource all of that on Upwork, use that platform to help me create different shorter, videos on that.
Pick in the front here. Yeah, I think so. Myself, what I do is that, like I said, I have 9 VAs that specifically work on this. I have one. I record the content, so I have a green screen at my house. I have a little office area that I have a green screen. I have a camera set up, and I have several different lights, so it's good quality. I record it. I then upload it into the Google Drive, and then I have a member of my team that then goes into the Google Drive, edits it, posts it, creates descriptions for me, make sure it's posted on every single platform. All of that takes care of 100% of it. Even engages on other people's posts for me. And I have different VAs that do each one of those things for me. And I mean, there was a period of time where I even had someone where I had a marketing manager that even came to my house with all the material, right? Instead of having my own green screen lights, my own camera, I had someone who came to my house and they set that all up. But I also can start off with literally you with a camera, you record it, and then you can pay a VA. I have some VAs that I only pay like $150 to $250 a week. Now I have several of them, but you could start with one that just handles the posting and the editing, and that's it, right? And then you're just recording the content, and then you can have somebody else handling the rest of it, right? And then that they can post it on and come up with the descriptions and come up with all the rest of it for you for a pretty affordable price.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Of course.
one last question. So I want to use this time, kind of give one last piece of advice, and then kind of, if we can, Alondra, put their screens up when they're speaking to give them, people to reach out. Now that there is a lot of power to connect, especially with people doing the business. I will try to talk to everyone to make sure we can find other ways, editors, VAs, where other people are using, so you can kind of try to do this yourself or just connect or reach out directly. So Pam, I'll just kind of like final words, and then also what you're looking for, how people here can help you. Pam, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks again for having on the show. I know as social media, it's interesting these days, it has its good and bad, and a lot of people post all the good stuff. But it's always good to post some of, your failures on there too. What am I looking for? I'm always just looking for commercial real estate deals and to collaborate with people. So that's really what I'm looking for now we're developing more. And so we're actually looking for, people out there that have opportunities to team up together on commercial real estate investments. But I would just say, as far as the social media, just have fun with it and just try different things, and everything we've talked about today, posting and engaging and commenting and sharing other people's posts is, just a great way to get started.
Thank you, Pam. Henry?
Yeah, again, thank you for having me on here. Really appreciate it. Hope this has been valuable. Yeah, in regards to best tip, I feel like it's just getting started and realizing this is a very, very long game. Getting started and just continue to be consistent, and put content out for the long term. It's not going to be, I promise, even I'll give you some understanding. I have 16,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it's like it pays the monetization is only like $300 to $400 a month, just to be honest. And so it's not like it's gonna, even having that kind of amount of subscribers is going to pay you anything crazy. But what's more valuable, the connections, the relationship, and the brand that you create from it. And I can't put a price on that, right? And it's been incredibly invaluable. So I definitely would just say get started, put out content, go multi-platform, focus on one to begin with. You can hire support as time goes on and as you want to spend more and more time on it. And then in regards to how you can best support me, just follow the content, right? And subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's where we put the most energy and effort into. Hopefully we can provide you some more value, and hopefully we can help you close some more business. Thanks for having me on.
Henry. Thank you. Scott?
And again, thank you so much for having me on here. It's always great to be a part of panels like this. And I've learned a lot on this, just listening here. I would say just like Henry said, just getting started where you like, if anything, if you had decided to take piano lessons 5 years ago, now you'd be playing piano for 5 years. And it might be daunting at first where to start, but even doing a small post, I mean, what I like to do are, engaging with other people. If you start engaging on other people's content, and even beyond the like, I did a post which I thought was going to be huge, and it just ended up being average. But I did a post on how to be, a good LinkedIn connection or a great LinkedIn connection. And a great LinkedIn connection is leaving comments, tagging people on things like you might see. For instance, you might focus on industrial real estate and you see someone with a triple net lease posting for a quick service restaurant. Well, you might know an investor, you might know someone who has some involvement in that industry who might be interested in this post. Tagging them in the post increases the engagement with that person, and the algorithm seems to like that. So cross engagement, doing more, like giving a like takes 1 second, but maybe 2% of people will even like a post that see it. And then there's an even smaller percentage will engage and comment. So the more you can do that, resharing someone's post, celebrating someone else's win, all those things just kind of show that you have to do it genuinely. If you're mad that someone else closed a sale, maybe don't post a celebratory post on that. But I do that a lot. I see other lenders or other brokers close a loan that we didn't even get a look at with some phenomenal rate, and I'll highlight them and say, I don't even believe how they got this done, but they got it done. I'm really impressed. And just trying to look beyond yourself is a way to build a profile that on there that is more reflective of just, hey, this is you're not transaction focused. You're celebrating the relationships and people and engaging. I think there's you can't put a price on that.
Thank you, Scott. And Pam, Henry, Scott, thank you so much for being on Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. We look forward to just having more information, sharing with everyone with our back office, backstage pass. So definitely subscribe. And just for me, you know what everyone was saying, with my new role, I'll be putting a calendar together. I'll be putting a PR press passes. So I'm going to use my influencer friends so I don't have to, Henry, show up everywhere, right? Looking like I'm clothes or wearing a mask. But to getting friends to go to different events that we do get tickets for, now that AI to do and post and write about it. But I think if we build this community, regardless of brand, agnostic, but just friends and people we care about and enjoy, we can do something very powerful. And I always say, play it forward, right? With all our success, everything we do, hopefully we can help others, especially in this time, changing times and times that technology, right? Embrace it, be a part of it. Don't be fearful from it. And I love everyone here because we are close friends. And I just want to thank you all again and thank everyone watching and listening to us. Please reach out to our guests. I will say to like Faraz, and that's my joke to Faraz, he'll make you famous. You'll get 1 million followers, but with Henry, Scott, Pam, reach out, connect, you'll instantly get at least 100,000. So, this is a great thing. Everyone have a great week and a great weekend. And I want to say for all the fathers, grandpa, happy Father's Day to everyone too. So everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Wow.